All right. Hello, everyone. You are tuned into the Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorney's YouTube channel. And I have some guests today with me. I don't usually interview two people. This is my first one. So this is exciting. We're going to have a great conversation. So we have Dutch and Morgan with me today. Introduce yourselves, guys. Why are you here? Why are you chatting with me today?
Cool. Well, I'm Dutch, founder of Bike Shed Motorcycle Club, or co-founder, also known as Bike Shed Moto Co. And I'm sitting here with Morgan, who can introduce himself.
Yeah, I'm Morgan Gales. I'm the club and experience manager here at Bike Shed. So I run the membership program, custom bikes, and a handful of the other things that we do around motorcycles.
Okay, that's great. And so, like you said, you guys are running with Bike Shed Moto. So talk to me a little bit about this organization for people who don't know what it is.
I love answering this question, and maybe Morgan will have a different take, but I always like to say we're a motorcycle club, but you don't need to join a club, and you don't even need to ride a motorcycle. What we're really about is the preservation of motorcycle culture, and it's definitely culture. We're not just for people who ride. And so we're about motorcycles, but we're for everyone. And that really kind of is the core of what we are without looking at the other stuff. Because, yeah, we have a cafe, bar, restaurant, and we have a members club, but that's an outcome of wanting to preserve motorcycle culture. We have a huge retail emporium with gear and apparel, and we make stuff. But again, that's an outcome of trying to be here for culture. We have galleries, we have we do big events every year. We have an event space. We will do anything that is good for bike culture and bike people. That's how I would pitch it. And yeah. I know Morgan's got probably similar takes.
But the Bike Shed was started as a custom motorcycle blog, started by Dutch back in 2011. And it's really always been a hub for the motorcycle community. It's something that, a place that any motorcyclist can come and feel welcome. It's, there's not a lot of space for big egos or for posturing and stuff like that. It's just a really real place for motorcyclists to come and hang out and feel supported and welcomed and meet like-minded individuals.
We talk a lot about common ground. It says it on the mat when you walk in, because leave your differences at the door. I mean, there's enough things that divide us all these days, and there's a lot of crazy stuff in the world. So forget about it. Let's concentrate on all the things that unite us. And motorcycles is one of those cool things that we can all agree on. Motorcycles are cool and we like riding, and some of the other stuff really isn't that important, in comparison to the things we share. So that's a big thing. And ultimately, we're a destination, and we're here to provide our community great experiences.
And I think that's probably why this organization has done so well. I know, just from my own knowledge, it started in England and it came over to the States, and this is the second location. So talk to me a little bit about how it originated in England and why you guys brought it over to the States, because you're bringing that community over here, and community always brings us together and everyone loves that. So I would love to hear the genesis about the London location to the LA location.
Sure. I mean, London started as a hobby. I worked in broadcast and media, but I love motorcycles. And a lot of people in my world rode bikes, and a lot of cameramen and photographers and all kinds of creative people. It's one of those things that brings out the individual. We know what motorcycle riders are like. We're first people to put our hands up for things, and first people to help you at the roadside. So I knew motorcycle riders were a different kind of person. But what I also realized was that although I was part of this group who lived and breathed biking when we had free time, one, we weren't bikers, we were bike riders. We certainly didn't define ourselves as bikers. And two, we didn't go to shows and we didn't read magazines. And we didn't really like bike destinations that much, because I don't want to stand around in a car, in a parking lot with a whole bunch of hairy dudes kicking tires and talking about fuel injection and saying who's got their knee down at the Nürburgring. It's just not interesting to me. Look, I was born in the 60s. I grew up in the 70s. I love that era, but that's not where we live right now. So we were into that. And I started blogging about the creative part of that culture, which was all about mostly people customizing motorcycles. And I wasn't a custom bike builder, bike guy. I just didn't like the bikes the manufacturers built. because back in the 2000s, they didn't build the cool bikes they build now. They were crap and they were ugly, and they were getting more and more into the transport industry and being more and more heavily legislated, especially in Europe. So for me, it was about putting the soul back into bikes, and we were buying older bikes to make them good. So you get a CB750 and put decent suspension and brakes on it, and you make it go around corners, and you put clip-ons on, you build a cafe racer, and everybody was interested in that. And there was Bike Exif going on. The Distinguished Gentleman's Ride had started. There was this kind of zeitgeist, and Morgan was right in the middle of that, being at Cycle World and being a journalist. Everybody all around the globe was seeing this same culture happening with scramblers and cafe racers and Brat style in Japan, and Deus appeared. So it was kind of like this magical zeitgeist thing. So I started a blog about my own personal journey with a Ducati Sport Classic that the co-founder, my wife Vicky, bought me for my birthday to try and slow me down. Unfortunately, I was faster on that bike than I was on my sports bikes. But I wrote about that, and then we tried to get other people involved, and we realized that it was really about people, not bikes. And then that moved into a show, because we decided trade fairs, bike shows were crap. They were awful. And they were really unfriendly. I mean, my wife, Vicky, rides. She would never go to a bike show because most of the other women there are wearing skin tight Lycra with logos on, trying to get data capture from dudes who want to be with girls with big boobs. It's not cool. I mean, it doesn't make women want to go to those places. And it's another kind of place where you take your kids or your family or your friends, unless they're hardcore bikers. So we wanted to do a show that was just up to date. We still wanted it to be cool and retro and interesting. So we had pop-up tattoos, pop-up barbershop. We had really cool bars. We had curated retail, but we did an event. We did a show in London, and it was all about the venue. It was about the location, and every bike was a curated, invited, custom builder's bike. Because again, bike shows were just full of OEM guys going, hey, buy our bike. And we're like, well, no, I haven't got any money and I don't like your bike, so I'd rather buy an old one and fix it up. So it was really about this culture and giving them this regular experience, which was this annual show. And then we tried to grow it, and we tried to take it to France, and we tried to make it more than once a year. But we realized it was this one big thing because people came from all over the world to this show. It started in 2013. And then we did it in the style of a club. So we had Chesterfield sofas, and we had rugs on the floor and coffee tables, and everybody said, well, why is it only at the weekend? Why can't this be full time? And we were like, well, that's ridiculous. That's not going to make any money. And I had a grown-up job in advertising. So I'm like, well, maybe we'll put a business plan together and try and find someone to run it. And we created the idea of it for this club in central London, this club you didn't have to join, definitely with a club feel and a club experience. It was really inclusive. And then we thought, do you know what, this is going to be amazing. We have to do it. So I gave up my job. My wife gave up her job. A whole bunch of our friends gave up their jobs. And we raised money with rich people we knew who had motorcycles. And we opened Bike Shed in London in 2015. And we opened it with Triumph launched the new Bonneville range on our opening.
Okay.
It's a good christening of our venue. And yeah, we've been going since then, with some big COVID interruptions. But before COVID, we decided that we should be in America, because specifically California is the capital of motorcycle culture globally, I think. And everyone thought we were in America anyway. When I was blogging, people were like, well, where in America are you? And I was like, well, I'm in London. And we knew that the culture here was like 25 times bigger. It's the same people. I mean, we didn't bring culture to America. What we did was we turned up and we found culture that was already here, because the customers and the members in London look like the customers and the members here. And if wherever we go in the world, everyone's going to look the same. Everyone's going to be people that love bikes. And it's going to be the same crowd of people that share the vision that we have. And so bringing it here was just incredibly difficult, because we needed to find more rich people to give us all their money. And then when we just about made it and got the place we're in now, which is huge, it's 30,000 square feet, we broke ground, started building, and then COVID hit. We were either locked in or locked out of the US for the next 2 years. I mean, for those of you who were here throughout that, the US border was closed to the rest of the world for 22 months. That's a really long time to not allow people in and out of your country. So it was a mess. And we just about survived. And it's been tough. You know, we opened 14 months ago, 15, 16 months ago, and straight into a recession and chaos and strikes and war and all sorts of supply chain lunacy, get the mosquito plague, you name it. But we have really thrived and survived through having an amazing, understanding community that's understood why we're here and supported us.
Well, thank you so much for describing the journey. It seems like it's been a very long journey, but you've got here and there was a lot of passion and dedication to get it to this point. And I think mostly what it was passion for the motorcycles in the community. Like you said, you realized it was more than just custom building. It was bringing people together. And you touched on how you guys have a lot of gatherings and you bring the community together. So with all of that said, I'd love to hear a story about one of the most memorable gatherings you have ever had. It could be either in LA or the London location, but you saw that it brought people together and it was just a standout moment for you. Can one of you describe one of those moments?
You got something?
I mean, I was able to see my first bike shed show in London this year. It's a show that's been going on for an incredibly long time. This was what,
show 12 or
the
13th show, maybe
13th show.
Yeah.
But there are tens of thousands of people that come into the tobacco docks in London, and it's unlike any show I've ever seen in the States. The variety of bikes, the amount of home builders, of shed builders that aren't people that have a big shop, they aren't promoting their brand, they aren't trying to sell parts. They're just people that built a bike because they love their bikes and their own style. And so you end up with such a incredible collection of just unique machines. You know, these people that aren't building anything to sell, just building it because they love it. And seeing that show, that community, being able to be there and experience it for the first time this year was incredible. But we were also there for 8 days and putting on the show. So over the course of that time, over those 7 days, I averaged 2.5 hours of sleep a night. And walked, I think, 80 miles. Okay.
Yeah. So you guys are keeping busy, of course, like making this legend live on. And what I really like about the bike shed, and I've only ever seen it online, I've actually never gone to the location, but from what I see, what I like about it is that there is a lot of British culture to it. And I have an affinity with British culture. I ride a Triumph, I drive a Mini Cooper. So I've always been drawn towards it, especially online. And I know you said that when it was brought over to the States, those types of people still stuck with it. But I do think there is a bit of a cultural difference with the community in the States and London. And I really see it at the bike shed, which I really appreciate. So I know you guys have been working in the industry for a long time, and you have created this marketing plan to make it so specific of what the bike shed is. So talk to me a little bit about your experience outside of the bike shed to make what bike shed is today, from all the experience you've gathered outside of it.
I think the outside piece is interesting because I did a lot of work in America in my 30s. I worked for MTV for a long time, and so I'm around a lot. And I never really saw differences in English and American culture. It was all about, the music industry is like the bike industry. It's pop and rock and rap and everything. It's just one thing. And you don't always know where artists come from, especially as most English artists sing with American accents. So you don't really think about the differences in culture. You think about the similarities. And obviously, the UK and the US are about as close as two countries can be. But what's interesting when you come here doing business is actually how different it is. It's America is kind of, everything's the same but different. And I think there's a very different kind of outlook to specifically business and bureaucracy and how things are done. It's kind of what I really love here is the positivity. When we opened our place in England, everybody was like, well, that'll never work. That's ridiculous. You can't have a bike club or a bike destination in the middle of a city. No one's going to go. Where's the twisty road? And we were like, well, people don't ride all the time. They drink beer. You know, they want to have a conversation. And so everyone said it won't, where they were very negative. Whereas in America, you have any idea and people go, oh, that's going to be awesome. Yeah, I'm right behind you. I'm going to be there. And you know, people are really, they're believers. I mean, this is the country that invented the automatic potato peeler. I mean, in England, just peel potatoes. You know what I mean? It's like you don't need a machine that does that. So you guys are great. You're like, hey, that's a great idea. Make a machine that peels potatoes because that's going to save you 40 seconds. So I love that about America. I love that entrepreneurial go-getting thing. But behind all of that, there's a real like 1950s bureaucracy where everything is super slow and rubber stamped.
Yeah, you got to get
you got a million. There's an agent between you and everyone. Anything you want to do, you need a guy with a certificate to get you to that other person that you actually want to talk to. So in some ways, it's, you know, in the land of SpaceX and Google and, you know, Tesla, you've also got this kind of grindingly slow way of doing things and a million different agencies. I've never seen so many different kinds of police forces. I don't know why you need 15 different types of cop here. I mean, in England, we have police and that's it. They're just the police. So it's really interesting for me. I'm enjoying it. I mean, I'm mostly living in America now, and I'm definitely embracing it. I've got a Ram, so you know,
that counts.
Yes, go ahead. It's
That's very American. Yeah.
You know, I thought that might help with my visa. But I mean, I kind of love the difference, but but I think the real difference is for me is you've got that positivity that helps you do things where people believe in what you can do, and you've got scale. We can have a big place here. But also it's grindingly slow, and things here change really, really slowly. You know, including things like fashion and taste, and you know, everything stays. Things are more sticky here.
Okay, well, I can definitely relate to you because I'm Canadian and I moved to the States. So, and when I say that, what I like about Bike Shed and what I see that there's still that British culture is because there's so many Harley Davidsons in the United States. Back in Canada, we don't have that strong culture with Harley Davidson, but you really see it here. And just touching on just the cultural differences, I love it because it just opens your mind to different aspects of the country, and you just appreciate things more. If it's positive or negative, whatever it is, it opens your eyes to different avenues in life and how to go about things. I'm sure you work in a different way business-wise coming out here because you're learning all these new things, making your business even better. And you know, you're continuously learning. So I would love to know how your involvement with the Bike Shed and the growing of it and the growth of it, how has it influenced your personal beliefs or outlook in life?
That's a really good question. I think in terms of personal beliefs, I think there's a few things. I've learned that most people are, when you really get down to it, are good people, because you just encounter a lot of people doing this. And you know, even people that do bad things or are stupid or annoying, most people come from a good place, because you deal with a huge volume of people when you do this kind of stuff. And that's been quite interesting for me, because I think I was always quite cynical about humans, and I think motorcycles have kind of taken away some of that. And I think that's quite a big thing, because you really, especially when you get into the hospitality. I mean, I went from media and entertainment into hospitality, and media is elitist and full of entitled assholes. And hospitality is a whole bunch of people trying to make your day and make you feel good. It's the opposite end of the spectrum. It's people serving you, whereas in media, you're being served. And it's very easy to be cynical about the world when you're in that kind of media space. And being in the service industry is actually a real eye-opener. And being there to try and make other people happy and have a good time is very humbling. And I think that's been a really big change for me over getting into all of this, and also realizing the power of team. I mean, you know, Morgan joined us recently, but I've known Morgan a long time, and I've known Morgan from afar. I was a bit of a Morgan stalker before I really knew him because of his role. And for me, it's about finding, I mean, I always joke with Vicky, my wife, that we're collecting unicorns. And because we're trying to put together these really unusual people that are going to create this mega team that are going to help preserve bike culture for the future and also grow what we're doing. And some of those people spin off and go and do other things, but we're trying to create some legacy here. And it's really about humans. And you've got to surround yourself with people that are better than you. And I think sometimes people are always worried about competition. They don't like to hire people better than them, or they're always worried that people can be quite scared that other people are going to come along and steal their thunder or take credit for their thing. And I think you got to do it the other way around. Get people who are way better than you, way smarter than you. Surround yourself with talent, and just kind of get on with it. So I think team building and I've got a very different relationship with humans that I used to have before.
Yeah.
Okay.
I work a lot with the membership program, so I'm on bikes with the riders a lot, and everybody rides bikes for one of several reasons. And when you look at our riders, the people that come in, you can look at why they ride. Is it to look cool, to feel cool? Is it because they love motorcycles and the thrill of speed? And most of the time it's some combination of all of them, right? But we come in, we find that common ground, and almost everybody that we interact with is a pleasure. We rarely get people that are I mean, for lack of another word, just dicks. We have an amazing community, and that continues to attract more of those people in that community. It just continues to bring more of the same good vibe, and it's great to see.
But I think in terms of the UK to the US, I think we brought something that existed, but we didn't think of it as English. We didn't think we're going to bring British culture. I mean, the only British things that I thought we were bringing here was like Sunday roast and full English breakfast and a pot of tea, and maybe some Chesterfield sofas.
And I was just going to say Chesterfield, because we say Chesterfield in Canada too, and it's very British.
Yeah, I mean, it's an English place and an English company.
These were all loaded up in a shipping container and brought over from the UK.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
We literally bought these, but I think I think what happened here was when we turned up in Los Angeles and started doing what we do, we found a lot of Americans who felt this was their thing. I don't think we had to convert anybody. I think we had to give people permission. We had to give people permission to go to a bike destination without their bike. Just get there and talk and turn up in an Uber because they want to get drunk and have some fun.
Yeah, it's a very unique concept, and you don't really see that much. So I think that's why it's done so well in the Mecca of motorcycles. It's just another concept, another way to get people who love motorcycles out. So, and I wanted to say, I really, really appreciated both of your perspectives on how the motorcycle industry has changed your personal life and how your outlook on life. And I really wanted to add on to yours, Dutch. You said, surround yourself with people who are better. And not many people would admit that because ego gets in the way. So I love that you're a business person and you've said that, because it shows that you are continuously on a road for personal development and making your business better. And I don't think a lot of people think like that. So I wanted to say, I really appreciated hearing that. And more people should have that concept, especially if you want to be a good business owner.
I think biking tells that story. I mean, you go on a track day with an instructor, you go to SoCal Supermoto with Brian. And the first thing he says to you is, he goes, first of all, let's get a few things clear. Firstly, I'm crap. But secondly, I'm better than you. And you're never going to be anywhere as good as me, because I do this every day. And I'm not going to teach you to back it in, because if you're good enough, you'll be backing it in. I'm not going to teach you to wheelie, because if you're good enough, you'll be able to wheelie. 2 rules: have fun, don't crash. And he's got this kind of humility. He knows who he is and what he's doing, but he takes all the alpha male bullshit out of it.
But haven't you seen that that's how it goes with experience in motorcycling?
Yeah.
You have this beginning that, okay, I'm here to learn. Oh, I'm good. Oh, I know everything. Now I'm the guy. And then you slowly learn how much you don't know.
Yeah.
And as you sort of, learn how much you don't know, then you come back up and you're gaining experience and you're gaining knowledge. And then you come back onto the side where it's, hey, motorcycles are a good thing. Let's share the knowledge. Let's share the stoke. But in these early stages, that's when people are really sort of gatekeeping and protecting, because it's my special thing and not yours.
Yeah, it's that whole kind of bravado. I mean, I spent a lot of my 30s trying to be faster and better and smoother and do more track days so I could be the dude. And if I was Dutch from the bike shed leading a ride, I better be quick, otherwise I'm going to be a fraud. And then I thought, what am I doing? And I think, in a way, bike culture has taught me to be a better businessman, because there's always someone more talented than you, or better than you, or braver than you, or maybe stupider than you. So ultimately, have a good time. And, I'm not going to be the fastest guy on a track or the best guy on the dirt. And in fact, I'm slowing down on all of those things. I like less injuries and less damaged bikes.
Amen.
So for me, you know, not crashing and not hurting myself are really high on my priority list. And so for me, I think, you know, there are lessons there in business that, you know, surround yourself with good people having a really good time. You're not the best. You may be in charge, or you may be the one paying for something on a certain day, but you don't have to be the best at it. And I think it's the humility of really great riders and biking that's kind of taught me a lot of that.
I certainly agree. And, you know, with all of that said, again, I think it comes down to just also having passion for motorcycles, realizing that, accepting your surroundings, the people that you're around, learning from people. And for my next question, with all of that, you guys have been riding for a long time, and it sounds like you're doing some track days. So I want to know from both of you, have you been in a motorcycle accident on the road? And if so, tell us one bit of what you learned if you got into an accident.
Yeah. I don't really drive cars. I've only ridden motorcycles for most of my life. I've had nearly 50 bikes, and you know, that's how I move. So I have had several motorcycle accidents. Each one teaches you something different, you know, whether it's you know, how to load up your brakes, make every motion a little bit more smoothly, less abrupt, less jerky, or just, you know, keep your head on a swivel. There's some things that you can't predict, that you can't prevent. It's not always going to be your fault, but giving yourself adequate braking distance and you know, staying alert, riding within the bounds of your skill set can help save you a lot of grief.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, certainly staying within your skill set.
Absolutely.
I think I've learned a couple of things. I mean, I think firstly, as a young motorcycle rider, you know, I'd be riding down the road and you'd see somebody in a turning, you know, junction about to join the road you're on. They've got to yield to you, and you ride and you don't slow down, because if they pull out, it's their fault, because you have right of way. So as a young motorcyclist, I'm like, well, I'm going to ride how I want to ride because I'm in the right. And then you get a bit older and people around you have accidents, and I've had a few. And then you kind of go, well, there's no point in going, it's your fault if you've now lost both legs. I mean, who gives a shit? Slow down.
Yeah. No one cares if you were right.
If someone's inching out of a junction, look at them. If they're not looking at you, if they can't see you, then they might pull out. So you've always got to be prepared. So I think the first thing is you've got to take the arrogance out of it. Because a lot of motorcycle accidents, even if they're the other guy's fault, they're also your fault. Because motorcycles, we need to think the opposite way. We shouldn't be entitled on the road and go, I'm in the right. We need to realize we're fast and we're almost invisible.
And not wrapped in a protective cages.
Yeah, but from a car driver's point of view, because I do drive a car a lot, is quite often motorcycles appear out of nowhere. And also a lot of motorcycle riders, they know what they're doing, but you don't know what they're doing. Yeah. And even good motorcycle riders, they sometimes ride like dicks, even if they know what you know, they might not think they're riding like a dick, but actually, I mean, I've ridden like a dick most of my life because I know I can make that gap. So especially in central London, where it's like a video game every day, all day. So I think even if it is their fault, you've got to kind of realize that actually you played a role in that. So I think realizing that we mostly play a role in our accidents is one big learning for me. That, you know, most road users are on four wheels and they don't have the visibility that we have, and they don't move like we do. So you've got to accept some responsibility for whatever happens to you. Having said that, the other big learning is with the worst accident I had is people do some dumbass shit. And the last accident I had, a guy on a blind corner was reversing on a one-way dual carriageway to try and get a parking spot behind him in a white van across 3 lanes. And so I came round a corner ready to enjoy one of my favorite turns in the big city and rode straight into the back of a guy who's reversing round a blind corner. So I think the other big lesson is anything can happen. And that old idea of if you can't brake at the point you can see in front of you, then shit can happen. And motorcycle accidents do happen. So I think it's really appreciating your own role in it. Never mind mechanical failure and grease and all the rest.
The more that you can take an out of control situation, and reproduce that in a controlled environment, so that you know how to react, you know how to respond when you find yourself in that situation. just any practice, any training, anything that you can do pays massive dividends, and is just so useful for any rider. On road, off road, any training helps everything.
Yeah, definitely more riding. And I think everyone who rides a motorcycle should consider doing a track day, not to be fast, but to do the same corner over and over again and bond with your bike. And also ride off road, because feeling a bike moving around under you is so different to having a bike on pavement. It's just completely different experience. And it'll save you. It'll change the way you react to slipping and sliding around.
Well, that's some great advice, and I couldn't agree with you guys more. Just obviously have more awareness, be safe, do a track day here and there to make yourself a better rider. So thank you for sharing all those tips for everyone. Appreciate that. So for one of my last questions, I'd love to know who you would love to collaborate with, a brand or a person, and bring them in to your company to promote something, and what kind of project would it be that you would want to create with them?
I think it's hard to say, because we do collaborate with a lot of brands already. And I mean, a lot of it is about taking those collaborations to the next level. I mean, our shows only work because they're sponsored, and those sponsorships, when we work with Ducati, with Triumph, with Yamaha, with Royal Enfield, with Indian, with Harley Davidson, with Alpine Stars, with Dainese, Revit. I mean, there are so many brands we work with, and at some point we've done some kind of collaboration with all of those brands, with merchandise, gear, apparel. We're on our second custom build with Royal Enfield at the moment.
Yeah.
Wow, nice.
And it's fantastic family of brands doing really interesting things. But we want to do more. I mean, right now, I think on our radar, we definitely want to do some more stuff with Alpine Stars. They're a great company. We work really well with them here in California.
And just who Bike Shed is makes it really easy to collaborate with a pretty wide range. You know, we could do because we do have gear, but we can work with Alpine Stars to sort of elevate the protective qualities of that gear. And we get a just incredible group of people coming in and out of here every day. So there's a lot of conversations about things that we can do, and just getting everybody involved in the local community. But yeah, stay tuned. We're working on some rad collaborations.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is about finding collaborators who do stuff we can't do. Yeah. So we can make really cool jeans and jackets and all the rest of it, but we can't get super technical or protective. So we'd have to collaborate. So then you need an Alpine Stars. And we'd love to have bikes with our name on them, but we can't build bikes. We're not an OEM. So working with an OEM on a bike that's the Bike Shed edit, our take on what they would do, is another thing that would be important to us. And, you know, there are great companies out there like Triumph and Royal Enfield and Indian that are really easy to work with, where we'd love to do more stuff with them, where we've kind of flirted with those kind of things.
We just did a really cool Super 73 build and giveaway. That was a cool collaboration.
So we want to collaborate with it. I mean, I think the nature of what we do is collaborative. And so
hit us up.
There's no one we don't want to collaborate with.
Well, I think you guys are doing a great job. A lot of great collaborations. Obviously, this is a very successful business that's bringing people together. So I think most people can appreciate that. So thank you so much, guys, for connecting with me today. I love what this is all about. And I need to get out there. I need to get out of Orange County and
come up and hang out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a little bit of a ride, but when you get here, you can stay for hours and be entertained. And, you know, and we do have people coming from all over, and we have members who are from San Francisco, from Phoenix, from all kinds of places where you think it's a little bit too far. But our visitors, you know, they'll make a pilgrimage to come here. And we make sure that when you get here, you're properly looked after. So give us a try. And also, we need support. We need to be, if the community doesn't turn up, then we don't exist.
Exactly. Well, you can count me in. I'll come up there and endure all the LA traffic, and I'll have a nice cold beer.
Perfect. And Dutch is the head of the LA Triumph Owners Group now. So this is for that. You can ride your Triumph up and have a community.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, guys, and we'll catch you next time.
All right, Olivia. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.